Oh, that's the game. Oh, all right, good. I wasn't sure it could have went to the wrong window. So I spent, oh, we can bold these as well. I spent a little bit of time and pulled out all the very generic stats of everybody. Also, yo, it's your guy Azurai, and I get to do an intro live. I didn't actually prepare to do an intro at all. So, who knows how this is gonna go. Intro. I like it. All right. So, I don't have any of the Fallen stats, but I do know his name, so I put him down here. But, I vaguely went through, and then I kind of main rolled them, i.e. like, I've put them into a role that I think they fit in. I think they're probably more than these 2 roles that some of them can do. But for the most part, these are the main ideas. The Druid is tank and healer, and that's basically the Druid. These are their main 2 roles. And then we'll kind of go one by one. I'll throw out my initial thoughts. I'll quickly read through their abilities. And these guys are sorted alphabetically. But first, I want to make notes of various stats. So that, of course, their HPs aren't too weird. With the only notable exception being Juggernaut having the highest and Berserker having the lowest by 50, which kind of feels a little bit bad. I mean, you can do DPS Druid. It's just, it's not a build I would recommend. Everyone else, actually, Brawler has the lowest at 52 mana, which is pretty curious, but also he needs 3 casts to get his stuff done. Also, is the Berserker really 54? Did I mistype that? I definitely mistyped that. I was like, wait a second, there's no way the Berserker is 54. He is 84. 82? Man, look at this. Live editing as we go. 82. Which is really bad. So... yeah. It's pretty rough, actually. He's got some of the... his attack... so we'll start at the top and kind of make our way down. Alchemist, pretty interesting. Actually, I'd give him my initial thoughts at, like, I'll actually color code these guys where I think they are. We'll put him as a solid bright green. He's a good character. I'll read his ability really quickly here. Your attacks poison a random enemy for 8% attack damage, which starts out as 4 every 3 seconds, never goes away, and grants a minor blessing to a random hero. And then his active ability is deal 100 attack damage to all enemies and duplicate up to 3 random poison effects. He, as you could probably realize, shines with attack speed, because as you upgrade his mixology, which is his passive, he goes from your attacks to poison 2 to 3. So it's 1, 2, and 3, and also same thing for minor blessings. And to be honest, if he's in your final comp and you have any decent attack speed, you will not lose your big bonuses from when the boss swipes them, because the final boss only removes 2 passive ability or two buffs. So with the Alchemist, I think there's 5 buffs. There's the attack buff, there's the defense, there's the armor, there's the heal. Is there one more? There might be just 4. But basically it gives you a really high shot of not losing any speed bonuses or pre-existing like attack bases like the warlords. So he's really good. So really good there. But you kind of see he starts off pretty slow. So you do need an item to do something with. And then his mixology, just poison is a rolling effect. So the fact that you get more poisons quicker, and it does this to all enemies, is pretty substantial, I'd say. And with how some fights go, especially if you get the Scourge, like, you will duplicate the 50 poison over every 3 seconds Scourge ability, which is crazy. So if you're particularly lucky, you can definitely run away with poison on this guy, and that's usually what happens. So for honestly, Scourge, I'm gonna put in the combos. Puzzling box, yeah, you're so right. If you get the puzzling box, that has a high. We'll probably have to. This. That right there. Oh no, Twitch chat. Or Twitch chat. Chat's in the way. Let me get rid of it. That's the wrong thing. Down. Oh, that white on white is just beautiful. It's gonna be a bit small. Sorry, chat. But this lets me get all this in here. Final thoughts as well. That's what we'll go with. And then I will move myself as well as the fight can design. So we'll split this combos into both hero and items, because there's certain items you really want. So Scourge, puzzle box, you definitely want Zephyrs on this guy. How do you spell Zephyr? Zeph, P-H-Y-R-S? Zephyrs? His main role, surprisingly, is actually damage, because once those poison stacks start rolling, they don't ever go away, like I said. So he scales crazy, and he starts doing so many. So if you just give him attack speed, you don't even need attack damage, honestly. The small bits of poison are very notable and stack up very quickly, and he keeps enhancing them as well. And we'll do next. And then also, to no surprise, if you get him with the Outlaw, like, I'll quickly go read the Outlaw. We'll kind of skip around a little bit. Where is the Outlaw? So the Outlaw deals 100% damage and poisons your target for 50% attack damage every 3 seconds. And then when the target is defeated, the poisons transfer over to the next target. So if you have an Alchemist, you have a fairly fast Outlaw, either pretty high attack damage or pretty high cast speed on the Outlaw, duplicating the poisons, you can run through enemies. I mean, on bosses in particular, the poison starts ticking to the extreme. But even on smaller enemies, when you have the Outlaw included in his combo, it's crazy good. I think that's really... Who else scales pretty well with it? It's so weird because, like, the Alchemist is almost just good enough by himself to be notable. He very much is almost in that same range of the Druid. As long as you get one item, I think you're pretty set. So for his challenge 19 scaling, he fits on every team. We'll have to... We're running out of space. Can I zoom out? There we go. He fits on every team. And then for the final boss, I'd say he secures the final boss. Resize, bro. Do like 28. So tiny. We'll do font size. Let's have it. Is that vaguely legible? We'll go back to 8. He fits on every team. He secures a boss fight, the final boss fight. He secures most boss fights. He's a great fill slot as well. Great fill slot. As long as you have the space for him, and of course backliner, don't throw him at... I don't think... Has anyone even attempted to make an Alchemist tank? Because I don't think there's anything to ever... Besides items, there's no reason to ever put him out there. We can even change this combo to just speed. Make it a generic speed out there. I think that's pretty good. And then once at the very end, I will come back here and like re-go through this. Because it's kind of forgot how actually, can I do something like this? Hide these rows. There we go. Look at that. This is how you excel. There we go. Okay. Perfect. I like it. So, next assassin. I think he's honestly also like a solid green on the pick. I've put him in a weird like alternate role. His main role, of course, is damage. You of course want speed on him. Let me read his abilities and quickly tell you why. So, you deal 50% attack damage to your. That's the Cleric. How's that the Cleric? So he's hidden, gains hidden, which means he cannot be targeted unless he's the last alive. And then the hidden trait removes. Or if you have multiple hidden, then what are you doing with multiple hidden? Your attacks poison your target, dealing 10% attack damage every 3 seconds. You target the back row first while in the front row. So he's a very strategic. You move him forward and back depending on how certain fights go. For the biggest, easiest example is in Act 3, when you have the healing totem for the enemy, you want the assassin targeting that healing totem. His active ability is deal 150% attack damage to the target and silences it. If your target is defeated while silenced from this ability, gain 40 mana. I'm actually not too certain how the exact scaling goes, but as you upgrade his passive, you do deal a higher percent attack damage to the target. I think is it 10% more each time? There's no easy way to see an actual Astronarch. And then his active ability scales from 150, 300 to 450, which is actually can cause him to just chain reaction his silences without having any kind of mana casting stuff. So it's pretty nice actually. Silences, now that they affect boss, are super important. So with that in mind, how does he scale for 19? This one will actually have 2 separate spots because he scales a little bit differently, I'd say. So on 19, he is the perfect fifth pick. I mean, you could definitely pick him earlier, but that'll be more discussed as challenge 20. Also, if you don't know the difference between 19 and 20, there's maybe a bit spoilers if you do care about it. And this Coraline correlates directly with his fill position. Because he starts with hidden, you can just plop him anywhere, which is nice. And a lot of combos when you're running through the game, particularly as you're approaching the final act, it's really hard to get a 5th pick that you can just throw at the bottom line. It's very rare that I usually play where I have like a 3-2 kind of build with 3 people on top and 2 people on bottom or some aspect of that. You can kind of get away with some here and there in terms of like how the fights work. But usually by Act 3, you are having 2 enemies on both of their adjacent squares. Right, and that's what will be discussed. Yeah, he is an amazing Act 1 pick as well. And this will be discussed in Challenge 20, as his damage is pretty ridiculous. He has high early damage, along with high speed being the fastest in the game, which doesn't, and high speed, doesn't need a lot of items as well. Is a pretty notable thing. You can just plop some attack damage on him and it's pretty nice. You can plop some, how do I make a, I know I can make this loop down. I just can't remember exactly how. But he doesn't need items. Like, you put some more attack damage, he gets higher poison. You put speed. I mean, you get 1 Zephyr's Pendant. You can plop it on the assassin. And he just kind of works. That's it. He just works. Text wrapping. There we go. I'll do this. Items. And also, even with Corruption 20, once again, he kind of can fill. At that point, you only have the 4 characters. You don't really need invisible hero too much, but it could be nice if you want to kill certain heroes quicker. So once again, the totem is an example. You can keep your 3 guys on the bottom, killing. Usually it's the Doom Girl, the totem, and then the little monstrosity thing that speeds up attack. You usually want to kill that attack monstrosity quick because he gets going. So having the assassin be on his own line while the 3 can be down there fighting him is pretty good. If you are going to build the assassin, obviously speed is the first thing. Next, attack damage of any kind. The shard in particular is really good on him because he will not be getting hit. So if you want to get the shard, you could even kind of go casty items as well. His silence is nice. You wouldn't be remiss to having an item like the Witch's Stick, since not only is he attacking fast, so he steals a lot of mana, but also he silences. And if you waste all 5 seconds of your either stun, disarm, or silence, and they're all 5 silence, it's a solid win in most cases, because the active abilities are the things that really kill you. So overall, he's a solid pick, I would say. Perfect for any team you need. You can pick him early. In particular, he works really good with the Paladin, I've found, as the Paladin can usually keep himself alive, and the Assassin deals plenty enough damage to not be a problem. And also it's a fun little combo. But honestly, besides from that, he works with almost anybody. I think you could fit him, besides maybe a healer, I would say. He would be a great pick to fit with anybody. Like, I don't think you could go Cleric Assassin. Maybe you could get away with Blood Mage Assassin on a Corruption 20 run. But besides from that, and maybe the Druid as well. Yeah, he could work with the Druid. I mean, the Druid works with everybody. But yes, he's very good. So let's talk about the Bard. Thankfully, he's early. He's not too hot, as the rhyme would go. I'd put him more in kind of a... He's not completely... Yeah, okay, he's red. He is a healer. Through and through. I mean, that's all you can really say. His heal is great. Useful heal, especially in Corruption 20, since it hits everybody, if you're going with the heal route. Because you can get Bandit's Hood is especially great on him for the invisibility, and you can fit him where he needs to be. Like if you have your 4 heroes and they're kind of spread out a little bit, the Bard's a good pick for there, since he will heal everybody. It's a pretty notable heal. Let me go read it off real quickly here. In the front row, increase the attack of all heroes by 6. If in the back row, heal all heroes for 10% of their max HP over 10 seconds. And that respectively goes to 6, 12, 18, and 10, 20, 30. So you get Symbiote, you get any mana reducing item. Mana items. Symbiote. Still Symbiote. Good question. The word I don't really spell too often. IoT? E. Symbiote's pretty good. Really, if you can get a symbiote on him real quickly, he will pop off and just heal. There's the video on this channel that is the Bard just healing himself till victory. It was a slow fight, but he made it. And so you might have noticed I haven't even read his passive ability. And it's because it's probably the worst one. It makes him almost worse in some cases. So instead of dealing damage, your attacks apply a bleed for 100% of attack damage over 10 seconds. And that scales to 150 and 200%. Sounds pretty good, but between the gate and he has the lowest attack in the game at 25. Like, that is 2.5 damage a second. And sure, as he hits more, it builds up a little bit, but it is so just bad. And even on runs where you have to force him to be the highest damage. So his for challenge 20, to be honest, like I haven't maxed, but unless you've got the items, he would be useless. Which is how I think. Unless you have any of these items, or these items like upgrade symbiote, upgrade liches, a bandage hood, not as needed. Maybe something along those lines. At that point, you could get either like health item or something like that. Like, he's just not good. He doesn't deal any sort of damage. Like, sure, the assassin doesn't deal too much damage, and neither does the alchemist, but at least it stacks. That's the biggest reason bleed feels so bad, because it doesn't keep going. I don't even know his alternate work. Like, you can put him as the damage slot and might think that's pretty cool, but it just doesn't feel good. It also doesn't feel noticeable either. Even at the super max with symbiote lich wrappings, it's just not something I would recommend. If you are going to try to get the bar to 20 though, because you'd like to get the max on everybody, you would pick him up 4th act if you have the items, would be my biggest recommendation. Or if you've done like the 1st act and you have no healer, like if you are growing like a Druid Ronan, for example, you can pick him up 3rd act. It's more healing, as long as you at least have 1 active orb and a symbiote or 2. But he is limited to his healing roll, and I don't even think he works too well with the supporting like attack damage roll. So we'll move on here. Next is the Berserker, and to be honest, not as bad. So he's gonna be a little bit lighter red, but the Berserker is just, he's rough. And there's a few reasons why he's pretty rough. First of all, I'll read what his abilities are, because they're actually really cool. Your attacks and active ability strikes heal you for 2% and increase your attack by 1. And then for his active, you deal 100% attack damage to your 2 targets, activating your passive ability with each strike. So, and also you apply Ruin, which is like a rare buff, a rare debuff to give to enemies. And that's the active scales to 4% and 2 attack and 6% and 3 attack. And the wild strikes deal same damage, but goes to 3 strikes and 4 strikes. So like, he seems super cool. He's got the speed to go at least fast enough at 1.6, which is above average. The reason where he really falls apart, and this is more for 20. I think we'll talk about 19 first. He's a high damage dealer. For sure. You can get him going pretty crazy with how much damage he does. Also, the Ruin effect. Ruin is nice. Ruin is very, very nice. I think there is like 4 bosses or 5 bosses that all kind of give some sort of regen to themselves. So having Ruin on them is enough to like turn the fight around easily. Especially the mini bosses, or the one that steals your stuff. And his corruption 20 scaling, he's just not fast enough. I think with 5 heroes and him being in the very back, like, perfect. That gives him the time, that gives him the place, and also needs specific items. Yeah, you get bursted too. With 4 heroes, you get bursted too quick. With 5 heroes, he's nice to have. So what items does he need? He needs a Saint's Vow, like 100%. Saint's Vow, and maybe on the lesser side, somebody else having the Life Spring. No, the Life Giving to give him more max HP. Max HP, because the higher his max HP goes, the more he regens each hit. And then also in that same terms, you would need speed, like the symbiote, for example. Or not the symbiote, for the Zephyrs, for example, speed. His man, you don't worry about his casting ability. Honestly, I wouldn't even give him the active orbs unless nobody else is better. But for sure, get his passive up if you're going to try to build him up. There's a reason why he is my lowest, and it's just he's almost the same as the Pyro in an aspect, to where he does damage. I think he does worse damage than the Pyro, because at least the Pyro is like cool. But that's about it. In a world where cast speed and super maxed attack speed are the king, and with his like pitiful starting stats, it's just not too great. Also, if you get him at the wrong time before he's fully up, like a random back attack or like the random attacks from Act 2, like he just kind of falls apart. Like he gets hit twice and you don't heal him fast enough, he's gone. So he's a full out, you could take him, you could make him work. I just don't think he's too good, especially for Corruption 20, I think. I think that's where he lies. Next, let's do Blood Mage. I will color code him to how I feel, which is not quite like bright green, like he's really good. I know some might might not be happy. I guess I don't quite understand the Blood Mage fully. Let me go read his abilities, because I haven't leveled him to max, and people say he's god tier. So you lose 5% of your current HP every 2 seconds. You heal the weakest adjacent hero for the amount lost. If you are the weakest, damage the target for the amount lost. It's passive. Deal 150, here's his active. Deal 150 attack damage and 20% of the damage you have taken this combat to your target. Heal for this damage dealt, reset the damage. I think the biggest reason why I don't, have they nerfed him? The biggest reason I don't get him too well, I mean, basically, his scaling works in such a way where it's, you heal the weakest 2 times and deal damage 2 times, and heal the weakest 3 times and damage 3 times. And then his Mirror Pain goes to 340% of the damage and 450 and 60. So he's fun. I mean, I think the favorite build of mine was the Codex frontline. It was cool. He would not die because he fall below half HP. His mana bar would come to 0. He'd cast, he'd regain all of his HP. It was super cool. I think for Corruption 19, he's a real nice additional healer and damage dealer. He kind of really does well. Yeah, I'll do format wrap. Make him a bit bigger. Not that big though. He's just like, I think the best way to describe him, he's solid. Like, Assassin Alchemist can carry the team, but the Blood Mage is always there. And you kind of, I think that's the biggest reason, is that it's hard to notice his effects. Yeah, you can look at the graphs and see how much he's healed and how much damage he's done, but it's really hard in the midst of combat to notice, because he doesn't ever do crazy high damage, and he hardly ever does crazy high heal. I mean, you can get him to do so. I mean, you could start with the Blood Mage though. Good early pick. Needs orbs though. We haven't even talked about any of the orbs on anyone, but we'll once we've kind of thrown out our base assumptions and our final thoughts, we'll talk about orbs, kind of how to upgrade people. Yeah, he's also one of the rare heroes where you're like, I want to give him all the orbs. Yes, needs orbs. Honestly, he doesn't need items too much. Like, he could take a Saint's Vow, but he's really gonna, when I say he doesn't need items, I mean he can take more supportive items. He doesn't need damage dealing. He doesn't need upgrades all the way. You can give him like 1 or 2 support items. So like the Codex, for example, is an idea to make him a frontline tank, which is his alternate role. So you can definitely make him tank. Pull up all the items as well. any kind of additional healing item would be nice. So any additional healing items. Right. He kind of let me put this in the as well. Works with almost everyone. Digital healing items. You can items. Right. You can put more support items on him. Items, support items. And his base stats are like not too shabby, I think. Yeah, I think he's besides his speed, which is whatever, he's not really here. His stats are pretty decent across the board. Not the worst defense, middling, in the middle of the line, attack when he does hit. And his health's above average. Yeah, max HP as well. Saint's Vow. Saint's Vow in particular is his item. If you can get Saint's Vow on him, you're pretty set there. Also, the one other item, the Oaken Knot. And the Oaken Knot would be good if you're going for a healing build. And keeping him at the highest HP possible. Which, early on, you know, you can kind of do what you need to. But the Oaken Knot Saint's Vow is a fun, like, crazy combo. Oh, yeah, also what is the healing thing? I'll put that into the healing items category, but that is called. It is the Holy Charm, which gives you additional healing. You receive additional healing. Works really well. And the cool thing is, besides maybe the Saint's Vow, you don't really need to upgrade the Oaken Knot. You can. And you don't really need to upgrade the Holy Cross. Like, just having them is nice. So, if you need, you can make some interesting. I think early on, I definitely did a lot of Corruption 20 with the Blood Mage. And I haven't really played him since. I put him on teams here and there, but just not too much. Brawler. Brawler is going to be another one of these, like, greeny, not, like, bright green picks. I think for the most part, a lot of the heroes are going to fall into this, like, greenish, not bright greenish section. Because for the most part, most heroes in this game are pretty good. But let's talk about the Brawler. So, he's interesting at the bare minimum. The Brawler, when attacked, either deal 30% attack damage to the attacker, or gain a shield equal to 3% of your max HP before being hit. So it does, if you watch the Brawler and you see him get hit, and he doesn't deal damage back, he did lose less HP than he should have. And for his active, he deals 150% attack damage to the target. Second time the ability is used, deal an additional 150. And the third time this ability is used, stun your target for 3 seconds. So he does have a stun. I put it. Why did I put support? I don't think he's support here. I think when I meant support, I meant he does deal some damage. He falls into very much the same as I categorize the Blood Mage, which is like, also he's just a nice addition. As addition to off tank. He's not like a crazy tanker, which is a weird way to say that, I guess. It feels weird. Nice addition to the off tank. I figured some people wouldn't be happy. Why don't I put more than here? He needs items. And we'll bring this over to the Corruption 20 scaling. Needs items. Low HP hurts. But well, actually, low HP and needs orbs. Like Blood Mage, we said, would be nice to have all four. The Brawler needs both of his passives. His scaling goes from I think 3% shield, 6% shield, 9% shield. and then 30, 60, 90 attack damage, which is like 9% shield per before each hit is crazy, crazy good. And like, he doesn't die at that point. If you get the right items, he just never dies. His combo, though, his active ability, I've never upgraded it all the way. You should probably never give this guy active orbs. The damage, he doesn't want to deal it, and it feels bad. I think maybe if the final ability stun got upgraded to be a little bit longer, it might be worth it all the way. Let's put needs blue orbs. That would be great. So he doesn't also work. He's not a good starter. Did I not wrap these? Ooh. Data. Text wrapping. Wrap. What is his? He does have the second highest at 750. But his defense is it's not too low. He just doesn't feel good. He doesn't feel good without orbs. Like, when we come to the Juggernaut later, there's a reason why he's a better tank. And that's just his heal on his low. And he has limited sustain. Early. And that's the problem. Because he needs max HP items. He would like healing items, particularly the Holy Cross, or defense items. Defense items, or shield giving items, i.e. the Crystalline Defender. Like, if you get that item, that's great to put on him, because it just kind of makes him, the more you can increase his max HP, the more of course, the longer he stays alive. And that just keeps going across. So the more you can make him hit and be hit, the less damage overall the battle. Less damage overall the entire rest of the battlefield will take, because he's tanking so much. So with that in mind, having a healer in a comp is good, which is why on Challenge 19 or Corruption 19, he's a nice addition, because he just kind of works. Most likely you have some sort of healer, either early or you pick up one come Act 2. So having that extra person is really nice. Yo, how's it going? Let's see here. I think that's mostly everybody. And anyone in particular, I don't think he combos. He's another one that just fills. He doesn't have like a particular combo that you work with. I'm trying to think if there anyone that like directly correlates with him pretty well, but not really. Not as crazy as like the Assassin Paladin or the Alchemist Outlaw. League is something else. Let's talk about the Cleric here. I'm actually not too sure what color to put this guy at. Because we could... Okay, let's change these tiers one time. Let's go very dark green, mediocre green. So we'll put Cleric. I love the Cleric. The Cleric is a ton of fun. Let's quickly read his abilities, and he has been buffed recently as well, so he's even better. So his passive ability is deal 50% attack damage to your target when you heal a hero by any means. Gain a shield equal to 30% of your healing received, and then heal the weakest adjacent hero for 10% max HP, and remove all stacks of a random negative effect. And then the scaling for the passive ability is 50, 100, 150, and for the heal it is 10, 20, 30, which is pretty notable. For his challenge, or for his Corruption 19 scaling, I mean, it's just a good heal. Like, I would almost say he's the best healer. I put him as like contender for best hero. Or best beast healer for sure. Best. Thank you. For sure. And Corruption 20, he really shines with the removing debuffs is life saving. Like, it's hard to... It's actually pretty easy to see. So, and we can correlate this directly with Act 2, for example. The Doom is so frustrating. It's such an annoying debuff. But if you have any sort of healing items on the Cleric, like the Symbiote, for example. We're going to say the Symbiote a lot, and so we're going to say the Zephyrs a lot. They're just the best items in the game at this time. But Symbiote Cleric, like, debuffs are gone. It's debuff gone. Like, debuff on, debuff off. Doom is just gone. Any kind of poisons are gone. So there's few bosses in Act 3. For example, the Chimera, that just has this terrifying stacking poison that can, like, insta-kill once you get to the final hero. But Cleric just says goodbye. And for the most part, he just needs one item. That's it. Given the Symbiote, he's good. Lich's Wrappings, perfect. Do you even need to upgrade it? Not really. And then maybe a lesser noted point, but his smite damage is a nice addition. And that's why he's also a burst. It's very weird for the hero to also be a burst damage. But there is, I'm sure you've seen the machine gun Cleric build. So it's a nice little alternative to go on. The specific item is to go like Symbiote, life-giving, and these prize scimitar to get his damage as high as possible with the least amount of work. And you can get some crazy like 1k burst damages within the first little bit of the fight. So with that in mind, he needs mana reduction items. And then from there, you can just give him some support items. Like, you give him a Symbiote, you give him the Frost Amulet thing. Oh, right, also Mirror as well. Sorry, I just forgot about Mirror. Anything that increases healing given, the Cleric likes. So, the slime thing and the slime looking thing, what's it called? Where is it? The Brain Sage is also really good on him, just because, like I said, healing items. And that's why he's good, is because you give him, he does need, let me put this in a note, he needs both active orbs. He does eat active orbs, though, and a lot of the healers do. And that's just the way it goes. Usually your healers are the first one you should give all your active orbs to. Unless you're going like pure DPS and then, through them. But because he only needs like a Symbiote and you can kind of get with him. Yeah, life-giving. Definitely. Which is also just another healing support-ish item. I'll put it in life-giving. In parentheses. So it's just good on him in general. But anything that can give healing to allies. You can even put, if you really want to, I figured this out today, but you can put Oaken Knot on Cleric, and he'll proc his active, or his passive ability. So if you really are looking to make your Cleric do a lot of damage, give him some Oaken Knots. He'll like it. And that's why he fits really well. Between the removing a debuff, he has high burst heal potential. Because he heals instantly at that moment. Every other healer is a heal over time, which is why I think he's the contender for the best healer. And I think he's just the best healer. Let me just get this contender out. Right. It procs when he's damaged, which the enemies do damage the AoE pretty frequently. But yes, between the burst, you can basically heal someone all the way to max with one active. And if you get Symbiote going with Liches, he's going right off the back. So we'll continue moving on. I would wholly recommend it. Let us do this nice blue color. So the Druid has made a journey. If you have watched any of my earlier stuff, or like some of my earlier streams and such, I hated the Druid. He gains 40 frail defense at the start of combat, and attackers grant you 3% speed until your frail defense expires. And then he heals the weakest adjacent hero for 15% max HP over 10 seconds. And they gain 4 attack and 1 negate. Druid is on a tier of his own list. There's a reason he is he's up here with a completely different color. So what does frail defense do if you're not too certain? Basically, whenever someone hits you, you remove 5 of that. So once you get hit once, it goes from 40 to 35, 35 to 30, so on and so forth. And then this scales from 40 to 80 to 120, and his heal scales from 15, 30, 45, and also the attack goes from 4, 8, 12. So that's the best passive. I mean, this guy fits. This guy can carry a team. Is how I'll put this in here. I'll actually put this in corruption 20. Can carry the team. Any defense items, particularly more tower shields, defense items, mana reduction items, any kind of healing items. If you're crazy, he does fit more than just this tank and healer. You can also go damage on him. I mostly play him as straight defense. So the reason why he's so good, it's kind of hard to correlate how much 120 defense is, but with just the Druid alone, you can tank Act 3 mobs pretty easily. If you give him a symbiote, you give him a tower shield, you give him a lich's wrappings, that's enough for him to solo tank most of the game, which is crazy because his defense is so high. So the biggest problem in this game, especially Act 20 and Act 19 when you're at full corruption, is, which is, you know, full corruption, is everyone deals a lot of damage. Like, it's a crazy number of damage. And that's why characters like the Berserker fall off pretty hard, is because suddenly the small buildups they need, they can't get to in time. The enemies start dealing too much damage. Where the Druid is a bit of an oddity into where he can tank long enough for someone like the Berserker to get going. And that gives you enough. Yeah, sure, you're going to lose him here or there. But by the time he dies, the rest of the team is roaring to go. I'll put these in both because he straight can carry the entire team. He does eat both active and passive orbs. If you're going to put Druid, you're going to give him the one caveat, needs orbs. You're going to need all his upgrades as soon as possible. Because then he will survive. He will not die. Between his own healing, I didn't even talk about another thing, which is the negate. It might be looked over slightly. Whereas the Cleric can remove anything that's been put on. Right, and you don't even need, like, let's say you're going to choose a different tank. You don't even need to give him all his orbs. You can just give him his 2 active, and he still delays long enough. And then along with that, he's putting negate on the lowest HP hero. So Doom can't get put on in certain boss fights. You can't like some fights it's so easy, particularly the Act 2 middle boss of the Executioner. Yeah, if you get mirror on him, he takes this. Basically, you build him the same way as the Cleric, but instead of having more support items, you have more defensive items. You can just get by. And then also, it's kind of hard to notice, but he does start attacking fast. So he gets that additional little nice little damage boost. Can off tank, can main tank, can just heal. The big reason why he's so versatile, I think the most fits in the most roles He fits anywhere you'd like to put him. So it's really nice in that sense. Yeah, Druid, there's a reason why... there's a reason why basically all my acts for like a day or two were just completely stomped by the Druid for my Corruption 20 runs. The dude is real good. So let's go on to the Fiend. Honestly, the Fiend gets to go in with my my dark green boys. Is there this tiers? Make this color coded. Oops, that's the text. Not like this. Is that one? Which blue did I use? The one to the right of it. Amazing is this bright green. Great is this dark green. Good is this lightish green. We haven't done a meh yet, but we'll do like a meh. A light, a yellow, and then bad is the red. Oh no, we'll do meh as the light red. Yeah, Druid fits everywhere. And it's why he's so good. You pick him up at Act 2, great. You pick him up at Act 3, great. You start with him, great. So I'm gonna start with the Fiend. I'm gonna start with the Corruption 20. We do have meh for Berserker. I think the Berserker is meh. Let me read the Fiend real quickly here. I love the Fiend as well. When you are knocked out, you do not lose morale and will heal 30% of HP after 9 seconds. And also you gain 1 MP per second for every active stack of bleed. His active is deal 100% attack damage to your target and heal for that damage dealt. Apply a bleed equal to 10% of your max HP. So, I like the Fiend. I think he's great. And the only reason, it kind of sucks, the only reason he's great is he doesn't lose morale when he dies. And the scaling for him, I actually don't know his active scaling. But I know he respawns at 7 seconds and 5 seconds with upgrades. I think he deals more damage and applies a higher bleed, but I'm not too certain. Well, I mean, of course he does. I just don't know the exact numbers, but those do increase. Doesn't lose morale when he dies. And then for the 19 scaling, we can just leave the 19 scaling blank. Yeah, I think so. Yo, hello, thanks for stopping on by. We're planning to go pretty long, so hopefully a lot of people who normally can't make it out can do so. Doesn't lose morale when he dies. Yeah, I'm honestly gonna we'll just put the same statement in both. Doesn't need items or orbs. Yes, and the Fiend is good only because you don't lose morale when he dies. He likes defense, like max HP items. Max HP items. He likes supportive items, and particularly ones that support items. And defense items. Particularly items that give enemies debuffs. So, the spiked armor, the poison armor, any items that deal effects over time. So, like, a rare item is Demon Prism, but it doesn't work too bad with him. With 19, like, he's a free morale. And 19 is that first rank when you finally start feeling how bad the morale can get. In 20, you feel it even worse. The fact that you can take him Act 1, the first act, and walk away with the act with mostly high morale because you never lose one when he dies and he keeps coming back. It's crazy. I mean, if you have extra passive orbs, you can definitely give them to him, because it's nice. But man, the fact that you don't lose morale when he dies makes him, as Tyrant said, he's a free 700 HP shield, and you just put like your wasted items on him. I mean, and with the Warlock in particular, he works pretty well. But just in general, on any team, if you need him to be, you put him in your main tank slot, and when he dies, your damage all starts going over to your secondary tank. If he revives before the secondary tank is dead, the target comes back to him. If you have one healer in the back, now he's full up. That's a good question. I actually don't know. I've never put the mirror on him. So I do not know. I'm actually gonna change the Cleric's color. The Cleric's great. But yeah, if you're struggling with morale, grab the Fiend. If you have low morale going into the second act, grab the Fiend. If you don't have a tank at all, grab the Fiend. In particular, he works great with the Outlaw. It's been a while since we actually named a character, since the other ones have been so good. But the Fiend Outlaw and the Fiend Warlock are great combos. If you play the Fiend with the Warlock, when the Fiend dies, the Warlock gets stronger, so that's the initial combo. Feels great. The second one is with the Outlaw. Basically, you put the Fiend first and the Outlaw second. And if it works out as well as it did, then the Fiend dies, the Outlaw starts getting hit. When the Fiend respawns in time, the Outlaw goes to his 50% HP, he vanishes, and then the Fiend's getting hit again. Now, it's hard to pull that off in its entirety, but it's a nice little combo. And that's why the Outlaw is also great as well. But we'll keep going on. Frostmancer. I'm going to set him as a solid great pick. Honestly, let's go amazing pick. I think he used to be a great pick. I think he's been upgraded to an amazing pick now. Let me read his abilities real quick. Attacks against you, your attacks, and your active ability apply 1 frost. And this is before, and I'll the interaction a little bit for his active ability in a second here. It's a little bit weird. For his active, you deal 100% attack damage to all enemies. For each stack of frost on the enemy, deal an additional 15 attack damage and stun them for 0.25 of a second. And the way his interaction with his passive works is when he casts, it works and it applies before the damage. So if someone's at 2 stacks of frost, they go to 3 stacks and then the active ability applies. His scaling works as thusly. When he has a second ability, it goes to +1 and also adjacent. So it's 2 to your target and 1 to adjacent, and then 3 to your target and 1 to adjacent for his final upgrade, I believe. And then his attack damage, I believe, yeah, the initial damage burst heals, or increases heals. So it goes from, I think, 100 to 150 to 200, I think, or something along those lines. I can't remember the exact numbers off the top of my head. So why is he put in the great slot? Ice is nice. Is the easiest way to say it. Having someone just pre-frost everybody, and as the fight's going, frost them, saves you basically an item you should always kind of grab. And for his combos, you want ice items. Well, you put that one right then. I mean, it's called frost, but ice doesn't work. Ice doesn't rhyme, or frost doesn't rhyme with nice. Frost items. And for his corruption 20, he also doesn't really need too much. Orbs not really needed. Doesn't need many items. And finally, AoE stun is great. Frost is frisky and not risky. That's his knight. He's a nice support hero. He's a great support hero. Frost items, you can get supportive items. You can go, in particular, I put his support items as secondary. And I put his main role as burst. He has a ton of damage. If honestly, if I did this a little bit better, these would almost be the same roles for him. He's both a support and a burst damage. His AoE hurts. Even without items, it still hurts. Like if you get like a Fenrir's Bane, if you have the Ice Amulet, like it is a 2.5 second stun to everybody. And also it's a significant portion of damage, especially if you're getting like 5 people in a fight. Like he shoots to the top in those large fights. Against bossing, he's it's bossing. Nice against bosses, but scales. Scales. But falls off. Really? The mages are a ton of fun. Supportive items. I mean, Fenrir's is the item that just works really well with him because it's both attack and frost. Like, what more could you want? Put that on the Frostmancer, it's even more burst damage. He, how are his stats? I can't remember exactly what they are. He also, it's why his burst damage is so good. He starts at 60 attack. That's above average for the most part. So he starts with pretty high attack. And he frosts. He's a slow attack. But he frosts. Doesn't need orbs. He just fits well. Doesn't work. Not a lot of investment required. Unlike our next guy. So I'm gonna put the Gladiator in a solid meh. Same color? That is not the same color. He has one role. Usually, you can kind of fit him in damage, and you can kind of vaguely get him healing if you really truly try to. His Act 2 scaling, he's Act 2 and above, 2 and 3 only. And the reason why is because he permanently increases his max HP by 10 for every every battle your party has been victorious. And then his active is deal 150% attack damage. If your target has 35% max HP or less, then you deal double damage. So, I'm feeling him as meh. And the reason why I'm feeling him as meh is because out of all the tanks, I think he's the worst. He gets a crazy ton of HP, but it's just nothing he does feels special. Yeah, his max HP increase. Oh, also active 2, 3 only. So each battle you win, you get 10 max HP. Nice, but you gotta change your pathing to include battles and maybe some that you would lose more on if you just skipped instead, or might lose entirely if you get unlucky. And then once you do pick him up at Act 2, you need his passive orbs because the 10 goes to 20 to 30, which feels bad. I mean, I get it, but like, you have to fill 2 passive orbs on him. Requires, needs, passives. And also needs items. Now, he's not like awful. You can play him for sure. Like, and someone like the Cleric feels really nice. But most of the time, you spent your passive orbs on most likely your DPS. You spent your active on your healers. So now for the entire Act 2 at the start, unless you get some good events, you're running around with a bare bones Gladiator. It just has a lot of HP. He's an okay off tank just because he does kind of work against that burst meta. In terms of like, he will tank the first initial barrage. It just feels bad. Also his active doesn't do much. I think, yeah, his active doesn't do much. Like, I don't know what the, it's not a lot of damage. It doesn't scale, like his, doesn't scale more. And it goes to 300% and 450, which, you know, 450 is a lot. But it just feels bad because if you don't hit it while the enemies are below 35% max HP, then it's like, okay, it's just a bigger hit. Like, give me somebody else that does the same thing, but something else as well. Right, so he needs a lot, is the problem. And in Act 3, or Corruption 20, you need to change the way you play entirely. You need specific pathing. Can I spell specific? I can't remember how to spell specific. You need very specific pathing. I put it at certain pathing. Certain pathing. He doesn't have... You have to be very particular with your picks for Corruption 20. Because each person needs to fill their role. The fact that you can't pick a tank early, and then once you do get his tank, you need to give him 2 passive orbs. It just feels bad. Pathing required. Oh, did it? Wait, I don't see anything. I'm not seeing anything. But he's cool. So the reason why he's not bad, and he's put in meta, he just has some crazy combos. Life-giving. Life-giving is super cool on him. Realm Tooth. Realm Tooth on this guy is crazy. Especially fully upgraded. Also, you can go this... He's got some very specific builds you can go for him. Needs good items. And only fills 1 position. Good catch. Thank you. I don't know when I muted. But yes, 2 ice cream cones, Zephyrs, really nice. Also the crown with the 2 items that deal damage based on how much HP you're missing is very nice. And his active is just absolutely bad. It's the worst active in the game. It just doesn't do anything. Yo. Thank you for the follow. It straight doesn't do anything. What are you supposed to do with it? If you don't hit it below 35% HP, that feels real bad. I think if it gave some sort of debuff, it would be notable. But until then, there's just nothing to do with it. I've never upgraded it, I think, in the entire time I played this game. Yeah, it's just... That's why I think if his active ability was anything better, he might go to the good category, but for now, he's a solid meh. Alright, move on to the Illusionist. I'm going to put the Illusionist in good. I might actually put Illusionist in meh as well. it's a hard one. He falls right between the lines of meh and good. And he vaguely follows the Gladiator's problems. He needs passive orbs, and needs items. I'm gonna put him to the good. I'm remembering why. So, he works amazing with the Fiend, with the Outlaw, with any tanks. He's a... let me go read his abilities before I forget. Okay, so when attacked, you have a 12% chance to teleport to a nearby location and create a duplicate with 100% of your attack and 25% of your max HP. The duplicate does not attack and deals 200% attack damage to your attacker when destroyed. Or you can do the active, which is create a duplicate for the rest of combat with 30% of your max HP, attack, and damage or defense, and your duplicates do not have items or abilities. Right, let me put this in parentheses, tanking. You do need items on him. And also, if you're not tanking... tanking... he does like active orbs. I've never done the Illusionist Bard. I could see it working, but you'd have to go like the HP build. I know, so he works great with the Fiend. If he, I'll put the only thing here for Corruption 20. He requires a bit of setup and constant positioning. You gotta be real careful with how you position this guy. And the reason is, one, if you're gonna go tanking, just throw him in the front. Yeah, that's easy. Don't worry there. But if you're gonna go active, you gotta put him in the back row and leave a space for him to fill in the adjacent tiles. He does really well filling up spaces across the board. He's also really good, very good against the final boss. That how you spell against? Again, I don't know. He's also really good against the final boss because let's say you position all 4 of your characters at the top, or maybe like 3 and 1. As he fills the bottom row, and this is against all bossing. That's good, very good against bosses. Bosses are always targeted in the bottom adjacent square. So as you're fighting in the bottom squares, maybe you have like 1 tank there. He'll spawn illusions once all of his adjacent squares are full, which will go to the bottom, which when the boss changes targets, the boss targets the bottom first, so then he'll have to go through your illusion wall. Once he kills 1, another one spawns, so, very good against bosses. Needs a bit of time is the only problem, and that's why he goes from he's not good to great, because he needs time. You need to get his active orb off, or his active ability off. You need to get his, if you're going tanking, you definitely need his passive orbs, mana reduction, items, and then stats. If you can give him stats at all, that's where he wants. Saint's Vow, get Tormented's Ring, you can throw on some defense items. Just give him as many stats as possible. If you're going his active, even if you're going his tanking build, give him all the defensive stats. It feels pretty good. For tanking, I'm gonna put this here. 12% feels bad. It's the only one who's going to get a little caveat probably in their rolls, but Illusionist tanking feels really bad. It's such a dice roll. At most, it's 36, so it's roughly 1 in 3. But if you get a bad string of luck, he can die really quickly. Yes, Keystone works great on him. Any are mana reducing mana gain items. So like even the casting thing works pretty well. Yeah, Keystone works amazing on him. The other items that work really well, actually, the starry robes or wherever that give you 35 mana and 5 defense, having one on him is amazing. You basically want to get your first cast off as soon as possible, because then that will help the tank. He kind of fills that off tank role, even with just his active abilities. He gives you the time. He works really well at the time. It takes him a bit, and you need the items. But once he gets going, like, yeah, he's pretty good. Okay, let's move on. We're more than halfway here, so we're almost done. After this, I'm gonna take another small little break, mostly to give my voice a quick rest, and then we're gonna come back with some more just like runs of some kind. Maybe we'll do some like cool duplicate challenge runs. Yeah, the RNG aspect of the Illusionist feels pretty meh sometimes. It also, like, on the other hand, if you hit all the RNG needed, it feels great. So, like, we're going to put the Juggernaut into the great category. And I'll read his, if I put any tanks in, I might put Juggernaut into the amazing. Who else is, yeah. Juggernaut's amazing. I'm a giant fan of the Juggernaut. I think the Juggernaut's the best tank in the game. He has the highest starting HP and pretty solid both attack and defense, and his active is real good. Well, let me read his passive first. The first time you were reduced below 50% max HP, increase your attack and defense by 20, and heal for 15% max HP over 10 seconds. And as active, this deals 200 damage and stun your target for 3 seconds. Oh, you're right, Druid is the best tank. Juggernaut is the best pure tank. Sorry. I forgot about the Druid, because he fills too many roles in my brain. So, as the passive upgrades, it increases the attack and defense to 20, 40 to 60, and then the heal from 15, 30, 45. So getting his passive up is really nice. His active goes from 200 damage, 400% damage, 600% damage. Which is pretty good. But the main reason you would never put your active orbs into the Juggernaut. Doesn't need active. Needs both passives. Right, he fills that pretty nice slot of, like, he does damage, he's a tank, he has a stun, he's pretty utility for being a tank. I'm not gonna argue for the best. He has the best self-heal, for sure, but the best healer, Oh, you could argue, for Druid, yeah, sorry, I thought you were talking about Juggernaut. I think Cleric's better. I mean, I like Cleric better. Doesn't need active. Good base stats. He does need both passives. But the stun is amazing early. You could definitely just live with the stun. So he want max HP items, max HP, any kind of defense. Honestly, even the 35 mana, 5 defense item. Right. Druid by far is either the second, for sure, contender for the second best. He's the only second best healer. I think Cleric removal is too good to look over. If I spell defense the same way consistently, no. expensive items. I mean, I'm good with base items. This guy, while of course nice, he's just a good tank. His own heal is great, and the defense gained from that is super notable. Particularly, what item is it? Let me go search his name. It's the one ancient that gives shield based on defense. It's something helmet or something. The Final Bastion. The Final Bastion is amazing on this guy. I think the negate's better still. Sure, if you got the spell going, but if suddenly someone got bursted down, we'll discuss more in this final thoughts. We'll continue on with the Juggernaut. Final Bastion on this guy, like, crazy good. And the good thing is, you give him the, like, one Arcane Stabilizer and maybe an Oaken Knot, and, like, he tanks for a while. He's no Druid tank. But between his stun and his just generic early game self-heal, he's just good. He's solid. His stun is also really solid. It turns most losing fights into winning fights with one stun. It does take a little bit. He does have a really high cast time, but he's just good. Easily the second best tank, or maybe like tied with Paladin for the next tank. But let's go next. Thankfully, also short and simple. Doesn't need items. Good with base items. Stun's good. Active's good. Outlaw. Outlaw is also going to be put into my amazing tier. Let me read his abilities real quickly. The first time you are reduced below 50%, redirect any enemies targeting you to their next target. Heal for 50% of max HP over the next 10 seconds and gain hidden. His active is deal 100% attack damage and poison your target for 50% attack damage every 3 seconds. When your target is defeated, any poisons from this ability are transferred to your next target. So, the Outlaw is good for a large variety of reasons. And this is particularly notable in Corruption 20. I should probably off tank. Can tank and not die is the reason he's super noticeable. And like that's the whole thing. When he hits his 50% HP and goes hidden and starts healing, and the way that scales is actually a little bit different from most. But he heals 35 and then 45, and also he removes one debuff and then removes all debuffs, I believe, that are on him when he goes hidden. So basically, if you go, you don't really ever need to go. Doesn't need passive. High damage poison there. You don't need the pass. The passes are nice on him, like 1 or 2. Or if you have extra, like eats him up. Does need active. What more could you want? Particularly when he hits the 50% HP, goes hidden. That small bit of time where he takes 1 or 2 hits and usually goes even further below HP. It feels really nice. It gives you another. He's like very much like the Fiend. He gives you just a little bit of extra time to scale things up. He definitely wants mana reducing items. And then damage items. Attack. Damage. Let's do attack items. And then his active abilities that I believe scales with his poison damage. So I think deals 100% and 150% for the poison damage. So it's like really nice. And the fact that it transfers makes it useful in not only boss fights. Right. Also, for some bosses, that do like the Chimera or Manticore, whatever it's called, feel nice when he does remove those debuffs entirely. He feels actually really bad. Any poisoners, by the way, feel really bad against the Hydra, because once you kill one head on the Hydra, the stacks reset, so just be aware of that. I mean, we already put him out here, but Alchemist, for sure. You definitely would want the Alchemist with this guy. But yeah, basically the general gist of this guy, he's very simple, thankfully. And he also works as a 5th. Let me put here. Works as a 5th pick. Like the Assassin, the fact that he can go hidden makes you are able to put him in the bottom row with only by himself, and for the most part he'll survive. Sometimes he will get bursted down just because the enemies deal so much damage, but once again, you've saved your tank 400-ish HP, give or take, somewhere in that range. And then once he's hidden, he's just spewing his poison. Basically, you get symbiote, you get Looted wrappings, and then some sort of damage increase item or a supportive item of some kind, and he just goes off. Right, yeah, unless you have the Bandit's Hood, your 5th pick for Corruption 19 will always be Assassin or Outlaw. Let's say not always, 90% of the time, because unless you're doing some weird 3-2 build. And also his poison, once again, poison stacks. It continues throughout the fight. So as the longer the fight goes on, the more you can delay, the higher damage you do, the better he feels. His stats aren't too crazy. Let me go read. But I think he has the 2nd highest attack at 60. Yeah, 60 is a pretty high starting attack. So he does start off with a pretty high poison, which is really nice. Yeah, in Corruption 20, he can fill as a off tank. Like Fiend. I'll put Fiend here. Yeah, Fiend Outlaw is like an actual legitimate starting combo. Because you can go have Fiend fights, Fiend dies, then the attacks go to Outlaw, and then hopefully by the time the Outlaw goes under and goes hidden, the Fiend's back. It's a cool little combo of switching attacks around. Yeah, Codex is a bit hard to make work because you got to be careful because it does regen with his active or his passive ability. So if you can make it work, it works. If not, it's sometimes hard to fully pull off. Right. If you go Codex, Symbiote, Lich's Wrappings, basically the first time Alchemist goes under, it will it'll be enough. 1 second. Once you get him under, if you can combine it with the Symbiote and Lich's Wrappings, then he'll quickly get to max. Once again, Codex only works sometimes in that case. Like, if he starts self-healing, which he will. Like, if he hits directly at 50% HP, it's hard to fully get the Codex to work on him. Like, if the first hit takes him down to 50 and then he just heals past it, then the Codex has wasted that entire fight. Which is why it's usable, but sometimes doesn't work properly. Also, you need to find the Codex and then upgrade it once as well, so at that point, it might be better to just go with Symbiote and get the consistency rather than sometimes the randomness. Like I said, if it worked consistently, I'd say go for it. But then you can't upgrade his passive at all. And not very often do I upgrade his passive, but the debuff removing is nice. Let's continue on. Paladin is a hard pick for me because I really love the Paladin. I think the Paladin is great. And I think the reason why he's not amazing is... Yeah, and you can only cast at 10. 10 is the minimum. because that's how long the up-down takes for the jump. Let's see here. Yeah, Paladin goes in the great. And for 19, his actually even for 20, active ability is amazing. Active ability is amazing. Has no damage. Has no damage at all. Paladin will not have any damage. And it vaguely works with the Pyromancer for damage, but for the most part, he is a tank, so he wants max HP, defense, defense items in particular. Let me go read his abilities, and you'll find out why. So your attacks burn your target and adjacent enemies for 40% attack damage over 10 seconds, and you and all adjacent heroes gain shield equal to your defense plus 100. And that scales to like your defense plus 200, defense plus 300 or something like that. And then the active ability goes 40, 80, 120. The Paladin would feel good, but his base damage is the second worst in the game next to the Bard. And basically he fills one role, and that's tank or off tank. Oh, same thing in this case. And he only really wants max HP, defense, and like generic healing items on him. You don't ever gotta put more. He appreciates items. Doesn't need too many. Doesn't need many items. I mean, yeah, you could put him in the healer category, but like that's harder. It's shield. He what's the word I'm looking for? He builds on himself. He's a tank. He gives himself more tankiness. That's just the way it goes. And also he gives his allies tankiness. Fills with roll, AoE, shield. Shield is nice against AoE. It's actually one of the only abilities to really help with AoE. Not very rare that you get hit by too many AoEs, but it does feel nice to guarantee more survival of your backline. Also, if you don't have him as the main tank, then he's helping the actual main tank survive. So it feels pretty nice. He only wants max HP defense items and kind of make him go attack, but like, you know, at that point, you can really make these characters do whatever they want. But they do have a main role. Yeah, but solid pick. You pick him early in Corruption 20. Not too shabby. He survives pretty easily with his own active ability. You put like one Oaken Knot on him, and he's pretty set for most fights. I don't think he has the highest HP, but he's definitely 50 under Juggernaut. And has 10 more defense. So they're very equal on terms of tankiness. I just think Juggernaut's stun, along with Juggernaut's damage, outclass him for Paladin. So for the next part, we have Pyromancer. I want to read his abilities before I forget pretty early. Your attacks and attacks against you burn the enemy of 30% attack damage over 10 seconds. And then for his actives, deal 50% piercing attack damage and detonate any burn effects on your target, removing them and dealing their remaining damage instantly. So, the Pyro, I'm only putting at good just because he also fills one role, but incredibly high damage. And then for Corruption 20, you need active orbs and very specific duplicate items. Also, heals himself to final boss. The reason why I'm not putting Pyromancer to the amazing category, even though he probably has the highest burst damage in the game, is because he can only do burst damage. There's not really too much else to do with him. It's also another reason why he's also not max, is because it's one build. You get Searing Edges or Bound Elements, and that's it. You upgrade those to 3 stars, you slap 3 of them on them, you do either all of the one or 2 of the same, and that's it. He doesn't have any synergies. If you don't get him these items, he's not good at all. And you can't really make him work with other ancient items too well, because his own damage isn't too nice. And even if you do go that way, like let's say you do like Warlord's Burden and Shard, then you need his passive orbs. Kills himself to the final boss. If you didn't get specific the items, needs passive orbs. Right, Ragnarok as well. If somebody else has Ragnarok, that's fine. It's just, Pyromancer is a one and done, very much like the Paladin. You plop them in with a few items, and that's really it. Nothing too exciting. If you can get the entire thing, it's good. Ranger. Ranger's a tough one. I think Ranger's also great. Another one I've turned mostly around on. I really did not like the Ranger. Additional ally is very nice. Yeah. The additional ally is very nice. Fills one role or the other. And for the reason why he's... Oh yeah, let's go read his abilities. And also read the pet abilities. So, target the back row first. At the start of combat, summon an animal companion with 30% of your attack and 50% of your defense. A different companion is summoned depending on if your attack or defense is higher. Deal 150, and his active is deal 150% damage to your target. And ricochet to all other enemies once, dealing 25% damage on each hit. And the scaling for his passive is 30, 50, 60, 100, 90, 150. And then he does have counter synergy with his with the Illusionist. They do work not too bad together, but the Illusionist does feel a bit sad about having less spaces. And his trick shot actually scales. I think his trick shot is like one of the coolest active, because for once, when you do go damage, it scales really well. So you deal 150% attack damage, 300%, and 450 once maxed. So, where does he kind of fall off and he's not in the amazing tier? Needs items. And if you don't get those items, that's it. Needs items. Amazing if he gets them. It's basically how it works with the Ranger. If you go... There's 2 types of builds. There's defense and attack. If you go defense, you just get tower shields. If you go attack, you get Salem's boots. You get Shard and Warlord. Now, of course, you can substitute these, but like, that's it. These are the two builds. They're cool. They're amazing. If you're going tank, he can off tank. So he has his own tank. Let me go read the abilities real quickly on the pets. So Dragos is the tank pet. At the start of combat, redirect any targeting enemies targeting adjacent allies to you. And then when it uses active, he gains Divine for 1.5 seconds, which is very nice. Doesn't take damage for 1.5 seconds. And you got Shiva. Shiva passive is she gains Hidden. And then she deals 100% attack damage to your target and apply a bleed for 200% over 10 damage. Over 10 damage. Over 10 seconds. Yeah, I mean, there's not too much to say. If you get the tank build, your pet gets like some 500 something ridiculous defense with 3 upgraded tower shields. Doesn't take damage. If you go attack, then you kill everything. Hits them. Attack. All likes active orbs. And the only reason he's hard on Corruption 20 is you just gotta keep rerolling until you get items, which is the unfortunate part. He doesn't. If you don't get his items, he's very middling. Like he doesn't. His pet doesn't scale nearly as crazily, and which means your own self isn't scaling too crazily, so it feels pretty bad. That is the Ranger in a nutshell. Either it feels amazing or he feels bad. Oh, Ronan. Let's go. I think Ronan is amazing. Why is he amazing? Solid AoE. His AoE is crazy good. Does anyone, besides Frostmancer, not too many people deal AoE damage. So the fact that he has solid scaling AoE is ridiculous. And let me go read why is bad. It's so good. So, his passive ability is your attacks have a 10% chance to apply bleed for 200% attack damage over 10 seconds, and disarms your target. Really nice. Rising Gale, deal 150 attack damage to your target and any adjacent enemies. Deal additional 150 attack damage for each time this ability has hit the enemy up to 2 times. As the passive scales, it goes 10%, 20%, 30%. And as his Rising Gale, which is active, goes to, I think, 3 and 4. You can do some... You're right. Ranger does have... Actually, Ranger's AoE is good with the attack. Both abilities are amazing. So he works with Corruption 19 easily. Both abilities are amazing. High damage. Multiple. And then for Corruption 20, the reason why he's good, there's multiple builds. Like, and it's different in the Ranger's sense. The Ranger has multiple builds, but you need very specific items. The Ronan has multiple, like an attack and casting builds, but they both can kind of... Oh, is it 246? I couldn't remember. Yeah, I think 246 sounds right. Multiple builds, because you can kind of go casting, you can kind of go attack, but if you don't get either, the Ronan's still good. It does like both orbs maxed. He does like both his passive and his active maxed, but you can toe the line. Like if you're going casty build, you don't have to get his passive. And if you're going just super high attack speed, you don't really need to get his active. But he does like them both, because the disarm is nice, the bleed is nice. There's a lot of damage. Mana reduction. Items. Attack items. Speed. Right, he's pretty easy to build as well. And because he can work either way, it feels nice not to have to be so specific. Like, okay, I've got a symbiote Lich's wrappings. let's start focusing on a casting build. Or I've started with Zephyrs and, you know, a serrated edge. Let's go attacky build. So it feels really nice in that aspect. Right. And you can definitely start with him as well. In terms of Corrupting 20, he does enough damage to start off as your DPS. And the occasional disarm for bossing, notable enough that I mentioned it. Okay, final two. Right, if you go Stong as you suggested, Symbiote and Starry, it's a rare combo to where he wants to attack and cast at the same time. And both work. Like, you're not sad about either. Alright, we're at the W's, and surprisingly there's two of them. Warlock, great. I don't think he's amazing. I think he's pretty great. You know what? No, Warlock's amazing. Let me read why. So, the first time, I don't play him too much, but I think he's amazing. The first time each hero is knocked out, begin healing 2% of your max HP every 2 seconds, and gain 10 attack and defense for the rest of the combat. For each enemy defeated, gain half this effect. And then, his active is deal 200% damage to a random enemy, heal yourself, and the weakest ally for 10 for the damage dealt. And the passive scale is a 2, 4, 6, and then 10, 20, 30 damage, I believe. And then the Soul Ripper goes from 1 enemy to 2 enemies to 3 enemies. So because of this, he has crazy survivability. Survivability. I don't think that's how you spell that at all. What did I miss? Oh, I had L's instead of I's. No wonder it looked weird. Yeah. The offensive healer. Final boss. I would definitely classify him as a boss killer. The more allies, the better. Yes. And then Fiend for sure. You give this guy with the Fiend. Right, and as the active ability increases for the Warlock, you do heal more allies as well. So it kind of starts spreading to everybody. You do need the passive Orb Swarm, though. Let's go here. Max. Oh, no. Old. Max. Max HP. Speed. And because he gains so many stats, while friends and enemies die around him, you don't really need the craziest items on there. Because he gets so much attack from his allies dying that the more max HP you can get and the more speed you can get on him, the crazier the regen per second is, first of all, and then the more damage he does. So having him maxed out with his passive and like 3 allies have died, he has high defense, he has high attack, and if you have any max HP item, he's regenning a ton each second. So he kills bosses easily. He's not perfect in any kind of ruin, like really neuters the kid. Let's put likes. Likes. Warlock was the first character I looked at and was like, this guy probably sucks. Like, why would you ever build your allies around dying? Illusions do not trigger this passive. No. I wish they did, dude. That'd be so cool. And also the interaction's a little bit weird because it's based on who's dead at the time. So let's say Fiend dies, he gets 1 proc. If Fiend comes back and then the tank next to him dies, he still is only at 1 proc. So until the Fiend dies again, then he procs again. Right, he gets the Juggernaut and then 10-10, and that scales. So at passive, as max passive, it's 6 and 30-30, which is crazy. And half of it for the enemies. So any kind of fights where there are multiple enemies, he's getting even stronger as they die. You definitely, I mean, if you're gonna, you can definitely give him like attack items, but you kind of can put him on somebody else while he just survives. You definitely have to put him in one spot. He is a backline only, which I guess for a lot of the line heroes is fine. But you would never put this guy anywhere near the front. You'd put him last. You'd want him to die to the very end, and hopefully he doesn't die. I think we had some crazy run where it was just the Fiend and oh, what's that item? I think it's the mana Great Mages. Great Mages staff or something. That item is crazy good on him because of its such high attack scaling that he appreciates. War Mage's great staff. I had the the adjectives all around War Mage. Or even like any of the defense, like he likes a lot of items. The Final Bastion as well. Yeah, if you have a weird team, or if you notice, especially if your team's not like super high damage, yeah, he fits in a lot of team comps. Just because he has just so much passive damage. It's really nice. I think that's why his utility makes him, and his ability to fit with any team. Also his heal. Like, I haven't talked about his heals all, but having him on addition, some people had mentioned it in the chat, but addition to his normal heal is like really good. It's really nice. It's that small little bonus that just might make the difference between a won run and a lost run. And let's talk about, last but not least, my favorite character, but a solid meh, unfortunately. The Wildmage. At the start of combat, gain shield equal to 25% of your max HP. When you are attacked while you have shield, deal 25% attack damage to all enemies. And then his active is Wild Burst. Deal 50 attack damage to random enemies 4 times. Costs 5 less mana each time it's used. Yo. Thank you for subscribing. Welcome to whatever this is. So, I think that might have been from earlier today again, but YouTube is just super slow in terms of subscription stuff, so can't do much about that. As the Wild Burst scales, as you put active orbs, it goes to 4, 8, 12. And then as his passive increases, it goes to 25, 50, and 75% max HP. And I'm pretty sure the attack damage scales to 25, 50, and 75 as well. And the biggest reason he is put into the meh category is he's slow. Why is this 7? 8. He's just very slow. He doesn't, and the more notable thing is once again, this one's also, hey, back to 8. He doesn't scale. He's very, he's item, what is happening? Why is this box item reliant? Like, we'll fix this at the end. I don't know why that one's... Oh, no. Do this. And with this. Yeah, and then he's not even, like, the greatest off... Like, the damage, Damage from passive is nice, but he's not made to be a tank. Is basically the easiest way to put it. Because the scale, he's item reliant. I mean, you get symbiote and you still need another symbiote. He just needs too much. He needs too much. And wants both active orbs. He does scale. If you do get the headdress or the Ring of Torment, I'm not gonna put it there because it's such a rare item. But if you get the headdress, that's it. If you can win with the headdress. Headdress. If not, need mana reduction. Not mana reduction. Attack. Yeah, but Codex isn't bad if you get like if you get any of the warlords with Codex. I mean, it's weird, but Songbird is like okay on him because you actually don't want him to attack ever. If I could have his attack just never go off and him just to cast. Oh, okay, gotcha. I just saw Codex. But yeah, Codex plus. I will do Warlords in particular is nice. Attack items. So he's got these very specific item requirements. You can't really go general items. You need the ancient items. If you do just go... Ooh, 1 second. If you do just go attack items, then he doesn't cast fast enough. If you go cast items, he doesn't have high enough attack for it to be notable. Like, it's pretty cool. And I love watching his attack. But the fact that it never increases besides from 50% of his attack damage on his active is really what makes him bad. I think if that scaled even just slightly to like deal 50%, maybe like I'd even be okay with like 65 and 80%, like some weird small percentage increases, he would go from meh to good. But even with headdress proccing 36 at fully upgraded and having a symbiote or having like headdress codex warlord, I mean, if you get headdress codex warlords, like, dude, you've won. Like, that's a one run. But it requires headdress codex warlords upgraded and for him not to die on accident because he has 600 HP and like minimal defense. What's his defense at? Actually, it's actually not too bad at 30, but he just dies very quickly. Yeah, if you get those 3 items, I mean, it's like saying if you get warlord, scythe, and shard, like that's a one run. You just need the items. Which is pretty funny. Okay, give me a second to... We're gonna pop around. I put the Fallen here in case he had come out while we were going, and I'd fill him later, but did not happen. Right. Oops. Okay, let me reorganize these guys based on their generic rankings I've given them. I'm sure there's a better way to do this in Excel, but this is the fastest way I know. Yeah, the Bard is he's all alone in the bad category. Unfortunately. Actually, there wasn't too many. Actually, these are different colors too. Funny. Yeah, it's very much like saying, hey, if you get Interstellar, it's a 1 run. Usually that is the case, that if you get Interstellar, it's a 1 run. So here is the I'm glad we've made it work. This is what I like to do sometimes. So let's quickly go through final thoughts before we'll take another break and come back to just some gameplay. Unless I'm looking to see if there's been any drops for an update, and I'm not seeing it. We'll continue here. If I can click back here. So, Druid. We've kind of, at this point, we've gone through everybody and put them in perspective. Why is Druid so great? Out of everyone here, Druid fills the most roles, and he's good at all of them. I'm gonna have to text wrap here. I didn't do that before. Format. Wrap. He's good at all the roles. At all of them. He shines even further with items and has a variety of builds to work with. He's just too much for everything. I think I haven't done DPS Druid, but he's pretty good if you can get it working pretty well. But he's good as a tank, he's good as an off tank, he's good as a healer. You can put him in the back line if you're a little bit worried about him, and he can backline tank a little bit if you have like one specific character. He just fits. He helps wherever you put him. Right. And on top of that, like, even if you're not going like a tank Druid, he has a crazy high heal. And also, he gives attack, and also gives negate. Negate is a rare ability. The fact he just hands them out like candy is really nice. He's too good at everything. He's a clutch pick. He's also, I'll put this here. He's a clutch pick when you don't know what to do. Like you're like, I have this damage. I have a tank. It's Act 2. I'm not too sure. Oh, let me get Druid. Or it's Act 3, and like we're kind of moving along. Yeah, negate definitely helps him continue on. But he's good. He's good. If you haven't really dived too deep into him, you will quickly do it and then probably be too reliant on him. I'm very worried about the day the Druid changes. I don't know what I'll do after that. So let's start going down to our amazing tier characters. Alchemist. Really? How did you get bigger? Excel, what have you done to me? I was wondering why I needed so much more extra space. let's just... Okay, nothing else changed. No, don't say that. Also, good catch. So, Alchemist. Why is he in the amazing tier? It's more of a flexibility. He falls into one role very particularly. He's very good at his role, and he's just very good at his role, at his damage support role that he falls into. Gives crazy amount of buffs, which are hard to notice in a fight, but are significant. Harder to notice in a fight. But I think if you're not really looking at the various no, don't say that. Need a drink of water here. If you've never taken the time to, after near the end of a fight, hover over your own allies and see how many like passives there are. You definitely should with the Alchemist. Like, he's given so much healing over time. He's given easily like 30 to 40 attack to everyone and some more defense. It's so much. And on top of that, he's duplicating various poisons. So hard nose in a fight. On top of these buffs, he's doing a crazy amount of poison damage. And then you look at you look at all the buffs, and then you go look at his damage on the chart, and he's like at 8k, and 50% of it is poison, and you've just gone off to the deep end. It's crazy. Alchemist he's also fun. It's really fun watching the Alchemist just work, which also probably has bumped him up in my books, even why I don't really pick him too often, because he's just too good. It's kind of like we're kind of getting to the point where I don't pick some of these top guys because we've done them to death. Actually, but to counter that completely, even the assassins here, I don't really pick the assassin too much. But why is the assassin great? In particular, hidden. I can like letting him be hidden and target enemy of choice is surprisingly game changing. I don't definitely do it enough, but I know it's better than I can make it, especially with some of the Act 3 enemies. Crazy poison damage. Combined with a silence is real killer on bosses. I am as well. Yes, I'm excited for more blood items. Honestly, I'm gonna bold hidden, because just for him being hidden, right? Backline against the totems, super nice. If you're particular, great. I think the best way to put it would be he expands. What's the word? He gets much stronger with each item. Here we go. He scales. If he scales much harder with items as well. His poison. Right. Him getting his poison going is it's good. And the more damage, the better. He doesn't even need like crazy ancient items. You can just give him some solid attack items and he will be top of the charts by the end of the fight, especially longer fights. And on shorter fights, guess what? He's silencing enemies. And in Act 2 and Act 3 with abilities that can just ruin a team. The fact that he can silence so consistently is so nice. I think that's why I kind of leave that. So next, Cleric. Best healer. The removing debuffs saves your team, and the giant amount of burst heal lets you survive. Lets your tanks survive. I think that'll be the first little sentence on top of that. While not crazy, he does have a fair bit of extra damage. Actually, let's do this. Oh, we got all this extra. Oh, for my screens. Yeah, all this extra screen space. Let's pop it over teeny little bit. There. Yeah, there we go. He's just I think he's the best healer. Without a doubt. He does eat some active orbs up, but they're 100% worth it. And it's just like the rest of the healers as well. Let's go. I mean, Cleric's short and simple. He's good. He's the best healer. He does some extra damage. He's not super reliant on items, but he does appreciate them. Frostmancer, ice. No, ice is nice. No, but frost is the best debuff in the game. We'll do this. Stun and frost are the best debuffs in the game. It happens. Do not worry. A lot of people do fall asleep to me just talking. It is mentioned fairly frequently here. Stun and frost are the best debuffs in the game. The fact that he hits everyone with them is game changing. I think it's as simple as that. Just his frost alone is notable. If you do fall asleep, have a good night. Maybe we'll be back here when you wake back up, depending on when the update decides it wants to drop. It's getting closer though. Yeah, dude, we're having a party here. We're jamming out to Excel docs. What'd you do this Friday? Excel. Let's continue on here. So, Juggernaut, I think he is the best tank. Oops, I'm not typing. Where am I typing? Best tank. His passive increases everything he wants. And his active stuns. This is life-saving. Stuns for a sizable time period. He doesn't require many items to tank. I think he doesn't. The fact that he doesn't require many items to tank, is what makes him the best tank. Like, you don't need to invest a ton. For like Ranger, I just smacked him. Ranger, for example, needs a good ton of items to tank. Juggernaut, you could put like 3 like no star items on him, and he'll get by. He likes. I bet. Like, obviously everyone likes more, but he doesn't need them, which is nice. Outlaw. I love the Outlaw. Works really well in the main tank position. Delays fights ever so slightly, and works, and his active ability works with that. Like, his active ability also working as like being a delay, him delaying, and his active slowly building up time gives you that slight bit of second. He gives that slight time advantage to make the team work, on top of dealing high damage. And we ran out of space for that. Yeah, I think that's a good way to put him. Not too much to say. I mean, at this point, we're basically reiterating a lot that we've said. Just finalizing the thoughts. Ronan. High damage, active, and useful. Passive. Work hand in hand to... what's the word? Make fights easy. Having, I think, almost the best AoE, for sure. Having the best AoE feel having... Hey, get out of here. Just messaging me. Phones are really weird. Sorry. Having high damage and useful passive works hand in hand to make fights easy. He shines with small. He shines. Let's see. He works well with limited item and has multiple builds to work with, allowing you to adjust on the fly. I think his utility and usefulness kind of are just too great to pass up. The fact that you could go multiple builds on him in a single run is a rare quality to have. Now let's dip down to the Warlock. Still the Warlock. How do we put this here? Oh, I'm starting to also cover up myself. Let's roll up a little bit. Alright. Warlock fills most team slots. Well, Warlock, a easy pick when you are unsure how to progress. And on top of that is an amazing boss killer, thanks to his ability to survive 1-on-1. His survivability is through the roof, and the fact that he could just keep fighting and nobody cares, or he doesn't care at all, is really, really nice. Also, doesn't need too many items, just kind of works really well. And now on to our great aspect here. Blood Mage, good healer. And these will be a little more brief as we dip down into the, where I rank less and less. Good healer. Good healer. And solid damage dealer. I'll be honest, this one's probably on me. As I think I'm not too great with him. I think he could be better. Everybody tells me he's good, and I can see how he's good. I just think I'm bad with him. But he's a great dealer. Great dealer. He's my favorite dealer. He's a great healer and a solid damage dealer. All the rhyming. And that's basically him in a nutshell. Fiend. A morale saver. Particularly one for my feeble brain. A morale saver. Very useful when the items are not in your favor, or you're not too sure who to grab for a tank slot. Fight a morale saver and fight the layer. I think that's where he goes here. Has particular combos that he works with even better, but just the fact that he doesn't lose morale when he dies is crazy good. Paladin is next on our list. Solid tank. The AoE shield works, keeps everyone alive, helping both his own tanking and other allies tanking. I like him. I think he, but that's it. That's all he can do. He can tank well. That's about it. And this will be very similar to the Pyromancer. Highest burst damage. Highest burst damage. I think we could even sum it up just that briefly. Highest burst damage. But needs the items. Ranger. Multiple builds that are very useful, but very item reliant as well. As well. I think it's the same thing there. You get the items for the Ranger, he's gonna win. Or at least you're gonna have a good time. But if you don't, Illusionist. Why is he not in the great or amazing category? It could be summed up as 12% feels really bad as a tank, and requires time and items to fully be effective. And sure, it goes 12%, 24%, 36%. And just the fact that if you ever tank with him requires that, it just feels bad. Brawler, not enough. His ability, his passive, isn't focused enough for a tank. And the damage he does from it doesn't feel worth it. Like, he's not getting a lot from it, and his the fact that sometimes he doesn't get HP when he gets hit just puts him on that one step where if it was just his passive doing that, it'd be very nice. Down again. Berserker. Final thoughts. Too slow, and not nearly enough HP starting to make use of his passive. And while Saint's Vow is actually amazing, it takes long as well. And then if you go full HP, then you're missing on attack speed. So you kind of just a little bit all over the place in terms of what he needs. Gladiator, Act 2 and up only. Needs let's see, what's it? Needs specific. Very specific. Specific items. And if he doesn't, feels pretty rough, I think would be the correct way to coin it. Feels pretty rough if he doesn't have everything. Wildmage, once again, another too slow. Without good items, doesn't really do much for the investment. And Bard, okay, you know what? We'll compliment the Bard. Good healer. Everything else sucks. As across the board, that's the terminology as well. Useful healer. So, hey, this will be the end of this video here. If you're live, we're gonna keep going here in just a second. But if you like the video, then feel free to like, subscribe, comment. This was a ton of fun to do live. Let me know which one you prefer. If you guys like the live version better, or if you'd like the pre-recorded version better. And then I'll see which one I can do. So, have a good night. See you guys next time. Thanks for watching.